Are you an organization that serves a community and you're wanting to increase your impact by being able to tap into unrestricted funds? Now, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you secure event sponsorships, which are typically unrestricted funds for you to be able to make impact as well as build more revenue and partnerships. I'm your host, Mariah Monique, the founder and CEO of the Sponsorship Catalyst, and I help empower organizations just like yourself understand how to navigate the sponsorship industry so that you can increase your impact, revenue, and partnerships. So in today's video, we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about what you're going to need to understand and know as you go after sponsorships, especially if you're a beginner, you've never done this before, or you just don't have a lot of knowledge about it, but you really truly desire in this season to diversify your streams of income, diversify your fundraising wheel so that you can make more impact in the community that you serve. So there are three things that we're going to talk about today. So the first thing is knowing yourself. What I mean by this is when you know yourself, meaning you know your organization, you can clearly state and define what you're all about, what your mission, what your vision is. I run into organizations, especially organizations that are just starting off, and they have a heart to serve the community. They have a heart to meet a need in the communities that they, see are going through some different hardships or challenges. However, sometimes there's not a lot of time and intentionality on the front end to really nail down what is the mission of the organization? Where are you going to be focused in on? What are the pillars in which you support the community? Now, I don't know if you've heard this before, but in the business world, they always talk about niching down and that you can't serve everybody. The same thing in the nonprofit space. Well, just in case you did not know, you are a business just with a different tax status. So when we're thinking about securing sponsors, it is really important that you can clearly state and help the sponsor on the other end that would be receiving your request or your pitch into, help them understand what you're all about, what your pillars are, what's the impact that you have made within your community. Not only that, is that you want to understand your organization's capacity and capabilities. What do I mean by this? Oftentimes people want sponsors to just come on board and pay their money because it's a good cause. And you'll learn as you stick around with me that it's just not all about just having a good cause or supporting a good cause, but that sponsorships is a marketing tool for organizations and companies to come on board and alongside you in order to be in the position to be able to boost their brand, get some real-time data and feedback on a product or service that they have, or whatever it is their goals are. So when you think about your organization's capacity and capabilities, you have to ensure that you have the infrastructure to steward properly the potential sponsors that are going to be coming on board. And what this could look like is not only stewarding the finances they will give to you in exchange for your dollars, but also stewarding the relationship, making sure that you have executed just as that agreement has been solidified, you've made sure that you've done your part. This is all going to really help you sustain the relationship from beginning to end, and it will eventually get to the point where you can kind of create some recurring income with the sponsors that love and enjoy what you're doing, and they love being a part of what you're doing and the value that you offer them. So that's the first thing. Knowing yourself, knowing your organization, knowing what you all can do and what you all cannot do, understanding truly where it is you are focusing your energy into so that as you identify best aligned partners, you can identify not just anybody out there in the world, but you identify brands that are going to be most aligned and mission specific to what you actually do to serve the community that you're in. The second thing is knowing your audience. Now, I do a lot of deck audits, sponsorship deck audits, and one of the main elements of a deck that people leave out is their data. And so when you know your audience, you understand how to really create potential selling points when you're pitching to a sponsor. Knowing your audience is not just about, knowing what race they are or age range they are or potential income or marital status. That's the demographics. You really need to take some time to understand the psychographics of your audience. So this is taking a deeper dive into who are they, what do they value, what are their interests, what do they like, and really understand those things so that your data, your complete data, both demographics and psychographics, can help drive your sponsor outreach. So for instance, I like to teach this in this way where when you're looking into psychographics, let's say for instance, someone does not have someone maybe really cares about like their mental health, and you're asking these open-ended questions to be able to get feedback from people that you serve to really understand, okay, what type of partner would be best aligned to help the people who are identifying that mental health is important to them? How do we partner with the right partner that is going to also support the community that they're sharing with us, that hey, we need this resource. So as a nonprofit organization, your goal is to really be that connector, the conduit for these relationships to flow between the funder and the nonprofit participants. And you're just the middleman, if you will. I call this the balancing act. It's kind of like if you went to the playground. One of my most favorite things as a child on the playground was the seesaw. I loved being on the seesaw. And if you really have that visual, the nonprofit is really the stabilizer between that rock and seesaw, left and right. And then you've got your funders, your sponsors, your grantors on one end, and then your program participants on another end. And where I find is that most nonprofits are so focused on the program participants, as they should, because those are the people that you're directly helping. But you tend to forget about your funders. What do your funders need? How do you become a solutionist for both your funders and your program participants so that this triangle of relationship works well for all parties? It should always feel like a win-win-win situation, right? The audience wins, the sponsors, funders win, and you as an organization, you win, and you can create an opportunity for increased longevity for your organization to make an impact for years and generations to come. So knowing your audience is going to be important. Knowing your audience psychographics is also really important because, again, it should help you drive your sponsor outreach. I want to share a story because I've gotten this sentiment a few times from folks, and I want to make sure this is not your mindset. I had someone recently in a webinar, well, this is maybe like a few years ago, in a webinar of mine, and they were saying, you know, why do I care about what the sponsor cares about? Like, I just want the money. And I started to tell them, like, the reason why you want to understand what your sponsors' needs are is because you want to make sure that you're also helping to provide a solution for them as well in exchange for the dollars. Like, again, it should always feel like a win-win situation. Now, when it comes with your data, and then when it comes with the data specifically on your audience, you want to make sure that you can utilize that data as potential selling points. So, for instance, if a company you're approaching, they're really focused on supporting housing individuals, you want to be able to say X percentage of our individuals are looking for home ownership. They're looking to grow. They're looking to grow financially. They potentially have a desire to open up new bank accounts, or they are graduating from high school and they're entering into college and they're going to need certain things at that stage. And so understanding your audience is going to be critical. Another thing I would say is really leaning into not just the quantitative data, but the qualitative data. And this looks like testimonials. How have people been transformed as a result of your organization's existence? What are they saying? How are you capturing that? Because it's going to be important, particularly as you begin to build out sponsorship materials, or as you're just maybe in front of a potential funder and you're just sharing with them the impact of your program on someone's life. And so it's important that you understand both the need for understanding your audience data, both quantitative and qualitative. We want to know impact numbers. Sponsors want to know what the transformation has looked like. And then the third thing when it comes to securing sponsors for your events or programs is that you want to know your sponsors. I kind of alluded to this a little bit, but it does you no justice, or it does you a disservice to go and pitch to a sponsor that is not aligned with what you do. It wastes your time oftentimes. And so you want to understand your sponsors. A lot of this can be done with some due diligence on the front end, right? Looking at sponsors' websites, company websites. This could look like maybe they do have a page just specifically dedicated to their funding pillars. Maybe it's sponsorships, maybe it's grant, where you can really see like, what do they like to support? Do they have a cycled application process? And so you want to be able to do some due diligence on the front end. You can also tell what an organization cares about just about their their About Us page. What do they care about beyond the thing that they either sell or service that they provide? And so doing that due diligence is going to be very critical in making sure that, one, you understand a company, that you're just not making assumptions that Target, or that you're not making assumptions that a particular like automobile company, but that you've done some research, because companies do evolve and they do change. And it's important that if you get a chance to get in front of a sponsor, you can bring that element of knowledge into the conversations, just showing that you've done some level of due diligence. So due diligence is important. Obviously, knowing your sponsor also comes down to understanding and asking the right questions, understanding their needs, their wants, and their desires. Why? Because sponsorships is not a donation. It is a marketing tool. So if it was a donation, there will be no strings attached. Typically, strings are attached and they come in the form of brand benefits. There's something in exchange that they're expecting to receive as a result of their dollars that they're going to give to your event or series of event or program, whatever that might look like for that sponsor. Every sponsor is different, which is why if you can do that due diligence on the front end to understand how does this sponsor differ from the next company that I'm about to pitch to, then you can kind of understand how to navigate what that could potentially look like. And just know that some of this does take time. You have to also find your own rhythm. You have to find your own flow. And as you build this, especially if you're just getting started, I don't want you to be frustrated with yourself, because sometimes this cannot be an easy task, although rather simple. And so you want to give yourself grace as you work out this process to understand not only your organization and your audience, but also understanding your sponsors and being able to get quicker, right, in terms of understanding what are the basic needs of sponsors or wants, or what are their particular desires. And let me tell you, those things can change from year to year. Sometimes they have some base foundational things that they care about or that they need, but sometimes they may change as our environment, as our country changes. And so it's really important to make sure that you're understanding what that is as time evolves. Another thing is that you want to be able to understand their sponsorship program. As I stated, not all sponsorship programs are the same. Every company differs in terms of how they process applications, if they have an application process at all, how they receive requests. Maybe they receive requests through email. Maybe they have an application portal. Maybe you can't submit anything because they only take sponsorship requests from people that they've invited to submit requests. And so every program, every company does it different. They may have a process that takes several months, some maybe just a few weeks. It just really varies. And so it's important that as you get familiar with these sponsors and as you have conversations, that you're asking the right questions so that you can glean the right information, so that you can understand, based on what I just learned about this partner, what is the best plan of action and strategy in order to get them to the point where they are willing to say yes to what we're offering as a potential solution for their needs, but also as a solution for our program participants. And then lastly, I just want to say, when you are securing sponsors, you want to go in just with confidence, understanding as nonprofit organizations that you bring value to sponsors. And sometimes I know nonprofits sometimes have a hard time understanding, well, what is the value that I offer a sponsor? And I think sometimes you just have to sit down and really think through like what impact you've made, what you can offer to a potential sponsor to where their goals can be met. And if you go into that conversation understanding of like, hey, I'm here to help you also reach a goal. I've got an audience. We do X, Y, and Z. Not that you're selling your audience, but you are putting your sponsors in a best position to be able to also help them meet their internal goals as well. Now, if you want to learn more about the trends of sponsorship, specifically for nonprofits in 2025, I want you to click the link above, and I want you to learn what are the trends so that as you begin this journey, you really can also understand what's going to be those top things that sponsors are going to be looking for that will give me a competitive advantage beyond where we currently are, and beyond maybe even your colleagues that are in the same nonprofit or for-profit space that's also going after the same dollars as you. And if you click below, I'm going to have a freebie for you that you can take advantage of This freebie is an opportunity for you to understand what to offer sponsors. It is a list of different brand benefits that you can offer sponsors, and you can really understand how you can mix and match based off of what your organization's capacity is to execute. And we'll talk more about that in another video, but I do want to leave that resource for you. And if you want to work with me, the best way to work with me is through our NESA course, our Nonprofit Event Sponsorship Accelerator. That is a comprehensive course where you can learn from beginning to end the sponsorship sales cycle, just improving the way that you approach these things. There's resources, there's templates, there's guides, things that make this process easy, simple, and duplicatable so that you can bring in the money that you need, not only this year, but years to come. Another way you can work with me is that if you have a sponsorship deck that maybe you're just not getting the traction that you thought that you were going to get, or you are like, I DIY this sponsorship deck, I'm not even really confident in it, and you want me to put my eyes on it to give you feedback on how you can improve it so that it is attractive to sponsors, go ahead and click the link below for the audit and alignment service, and I will be happy to review your deck and get over some feedback to you so that you can increase your chances of securing more of those yeses. I'll see you in the next video.